Hey everyone! Today I'm going to make a card using the leftover scraps from a die that I had used for a different project. So these pieces here are the leftovers from this cutting die by Uniquely Creative, which I believe is called the Circle Heart Texture die. And I had used it on another project, but I thought I would layer those scrap pieces over top of a card panel with some ink blending underneath. So I'm just taking some Distress Oxide inks. I believe that is Kitsch Flamingo and Salvaged Patina. So I only need to add ink in a small strip there where it's going to show between those two pieces of cardstock. So I do also want to blend over, overlap the inks a bit, and that gives a little bit of a soft purple. So I'm just kind of going back and forth until I get a nice even blend. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I think that's almost good, but I was checking the side with the skinny little piece to see if it was going to cover, and I thought, you know what, just put ink right to the end of the card. That's easier. And then I had picked out two different stamp sets to see what kind of floral image I wanted to stamp in that little spot there. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to use that dandelion set or this floral, and I did decide to go with this one that's got a really pretty strip of flowers with just kind of faint outlines. And it is this set called Fabulous Florals by Sentimentally Yours. It came in a magazine. So I'm just lining it up in my MISTI and making sure I've got it where I want it. And then pick it up with the lid of my MISTI. There were a couple little air bubbles I was getting rid of there. And then I'm using my VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink to stamp that in place. And now for the sentiment. So I'm going to stamp the sentiment on that panel there. But I wasn't quite sure which sentiment I wanted. So I was going through my stash and thought, let's line it up and see how it looks. And I decided to go with one from the same set as the florals, but the sentiment stamps are called Splendid Sentiments, also by Sentimentally Yours. And I decided to go with a happy birthday because I have had so many birthday cards to make for May and I have so many to make for June that I am running out. So it's good to get my stash going again. So have that obviously stamped in my VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and I thought I would put it in the MISTI and try to glue the pieces in place there and see if I could get them straight that way. But I think eyeballing it maybe works better for me because I did have to take some scissors and trim off a little piece there, trim off there, and then I end up getting out my actual trimmer and trimming a tiny little bit more off. But in the end it worked. And then I figured to finish this off, I would add some gems. So I'm bringing out my water droplet gems first and kind of playing with some positioning and seeing how I liked the look of that. And thought that's a maybe. But I also have these nail art gems and there's a few different colors. So I'm trying some tiny ones there. Those ones weren't really doing it for me, so I'm trying some slightly larger ones and some different colors. And this part usually does take me a while. But I did settle with one pink gem at the top and two blue ones at the bottom. So let's just glue those in place. And then this card is done. So I'll bring it up for a closer look and try to tilt it a bit so you can see the shine on those little gems. I think those colors matched well with the ink that I used. I'm happy with that. So a couple still shots here, and that's it for today. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful, peaceful day.